Okay, let's find out what happens, find out who our last remaining player who doesn't have a loss will be. I'm going to send that on over to Cedric and Corey.
Thank you so much, Maria and Frank. Cedric Phillips, Corey Baumeister here in the booth for our final round of day number 1 of competition here from Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3. We are, of course, in Amsterdam, and we have seen a bird looking to fly away with the competition at least one more time here, Corey, in Nadu.
Yep, absolutely. It's been the talk of the tournament. Looking at the standings, it's definitely performing the way we kind of thought it would be. Yep. And we'll see if this hateful list is enough to take it down here with this Eldrazi Tron list.
Yeah, this is kind of the ultimate stress test for a Nadu player, because we're seeing an Eldrazi Tron list that is very geared towards trying to stop the Nadu deck from doing what it does and kind of win eventually with some sort of Emrakul, Karn, just kind of some sort of leftover, right? So there's just a lot of main deck disruption, and we have seen players take this approach before. We're coming into a tournament, you know that there's going to be a very heavily played deck. In this instance, it's Nadu, and can I build a deck that really disrupts this thing and is able to defeat it with all of the disruption that I do have? It might be good in other matchups as well here for David, and David's record is, of course, 6-0-1, so he's doing well in the tournament in a very general sense. But how well does this deck perform against the big bad of the format? We got a small sample size coming to you right now.
Yep, absolutely. Almost feels like a deck that is kind of pre-sideboarded for the most popular 1 to 2 decks, and sometimes that really works. Sometimes you play against not those matchups and it looks a little bit worse, but obviously going quite well for David so far.
It's a nice start here for Jacob Nagro, who has 7 cards in the opener compared to David's 6 is on the play, and it'll be a Mana Accelerant via a Temple Garden in Delighted Halfling.
Yep, the dreams start, and if you can just start doing the combo before, you know, David has that key turn 3, I would say there is some disrupting flutes that you can have for turn 2, or even 1 with the new powerful Eldrazi land. But if you can just get going before that, it's really Jacob's game to win, especially being on the play. Very important in this match.
Devourer of Destiny is the pregame effect that you're seeing Jacob resolve right now. Of course, you may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, at the beginning of your first upkeep, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can put one on top and exile the rest. So Expedition map among the cards that our Eldrazi Tron player has exiled, and that'll be an Eldrazi Temple, card of the Great Creator, now added to the hand, alongside another copy of the powerful Planeswalker, Kozilek's Command, Talisman of Resilience, and the aforementioned Devourer of Destiny, Corey.
Yeah, probably looking for Ugin's Labyrinth. You know, that's probably the best land that David could have found. Only found one other Tron land there and said, that's not good enough, I need to be faster. And as it stands, as the dust settles, David's hand did not contain a lot of lands. Urza's Saga was the only other one with a Talisman of Resilience. So David does need some help to just kind of get off the ground here.
Well, there is a land there for David, but it is not the most ideal of ones there in an Urza Saga. It will get a counter. Now we will see a Kozilek's Command here. This is a new one and a rather good one from Modern Horizons 3, especially in this colorless archetype that David is playing. Kozilek's Command, X being 1 in this instance. See some modes selected, but the 2 modes that can be made, one of course is making a Scion, the other is taking care of that Halfling.
Yeah. Just a good old classic 2-for-1. Get something to hang around, deal with a creature, and now David's going to be kind of knocking the top of the deck. Get land number 4, then you already have Karn kind of ready to go. The ideal scenario there for David.
Well, somebody's ready to go. Woo. Because that's a Shuko that Jacob did not have, and now this is a Nadu via Summoner's Pack. So this game could be all but over, because that's what this Bant Nadu deck is capable of doing.
This was a little risky, though, from Jacob. There is 2 dismembers. If one of the dismembers was here, just dismember Wall of Roots, and then all of a sudden this Shuko has to hit. Otherwise, Summoner's Pact would just end the game. So there was a little bit of risk. Jacob said, yeah, absolutely worth it.
Well, let's put the Wall of Roots on the conveyor belt. So there's your first activation on the Shuko, and the second one is right now. This will be a Sylvan Safekeeper alongside a Windswept Heath. So we're all done with the Wall of Roots. Let's check out what's going on with Nadu. Well, there's the Nantuko, so looks like Jacob might almost be home here. Next up is a Windswept Heath.
That was huge. 2 lands to just be able to play the powerful combo piece here of Springheart Nantuko, and not much more you need. Maybe a land here.
I think a land is exactly what's necessary, and a land did not show up, but a Court of Calling sure did. So this will be a Court of Calling for 0. which leads me to believe that a Dryad Arbor is on the way. You see those Windswept Heaths, they're tapped. That's tapped because Yavimaya is on the battlefield to provide green mana. So once the Dryad Arbor enters the battlefield from the Court of Calling, there will also be a trigger from the Nantuko that'll be generating an insect, which means, Corey, 4 more Shuko activations.
And really, all you need is a land. I think even one land should pretty much do it here. So, wow, just look at how explosive this is. This is turn 3, Cedric.
It sure is. And there's a land that you did mention, and it's a fetch land, too.
With disruption. There was the Delighted Halfling was destroyed there, so all this is through a piece of, minor hate already. And yeah, this deck is incredibly powerful.
Nadu's doing what Nadu does. So another land, and now there is another Nantuko. So we're all done with that insect. Shuko is going to come on into the hand now. Shuko's going to go on to another copy of the Nantuko. So now it might just be a matter of what's the win condition here. It looks like Jacob's going to go into the sideboard maybe in just a moment. Might be a split sleeve, so let's go ahead and replace that. But we have on the battlefield, as things currently do stand, it looks like it's going to be 5 Shuko activations left at the very least. There's a Shuko. Let's go down to 4 activations, 2 on the Nantuko. Horizon Canopy is going to trigger the Nantuko. We'll do a little bit of counting here. It's actually going to, whenever a land enters, it's going to be 2 insects that do join the fray.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There's okay.
Okay.
And that's got to do it. Looks like there was 1 extra activation, but, doesn't really matter. We'll just take 1 off of one of the insects.
Yeah, I don't think I can miss, really.
Yeah, and we're going to listen to Jacob kind of explain this to David real quick.
Attack you, but I can.
It's okay.
I'm going to besiege you everything you have, and Haywire might that, and yeah.
Okay.
That's all he's going to do, though.
That's it.
I'm gonna make a ton of stuff. I'm going to kill all your lands. I'm going to Haywire Might, your only relevant permanent in play.
Correct.
And then I'm going to say go.
And then say go.
Yeah,
and
I'm going to say go.
You get another turn.
Yeah.
Jacob decided to not play the Thassa's Oracle, but as we've kind of been seeing throughout this tournament's evolution, Cedric, that's kind of the training wheels. You just don't need it when you do exactly what Jacob was saying there, like, get rid of all your lands, Otawara all your permanents back, and then what are you going to do?
Yeah, there are some very silly loops that we may never actually get to see happen on camera over the course of this weekend. So for the viewers who are a little bit new to it, Frank has, I think, explained it a little bit earlier on in the day, but once you do have all of your deck onto the battlefield, you can do some pretty degenerate things with Sylvan Safekeeper and Endurance alongside Nadu and Shuko activations where let's just say that you've gone infinite and then some.
Definitely. And that is just really showing like how powerful this strategy can be. Half the players kind of figured out that, you don't really need Thassa's Oracle, and it's a pretty bad card to draw. A double blue card is pretty tough to cast already. And then just being able to win the game without it is kind of showing that Bant Nadu is here to stay, and it's not even at its full final form yet. So really scary bird here in Amsterdam.
Urza is having an impact on this game. On Jacob's side, it's Urza's Saga. On the other side of things, Urza's Mine, Power Plant, and now Tower have shown up. So last time we covered a Modern tournament, Corey, of course, we saw Tron in the hand of Team Handshake put up a very dominant display. We're not seeing that style of deck here this week, and this is about the closest thing to it for your Urzatron fans and what David González has brought to the battlefield. And the Tron can certainly be online, but Jacob said in the draw step, I'm actually going to sacrifice a Windswept Heath because Jacob does have a Beseiju who endures in hand. And Corey, there's good reason to do this during the draw step as opposed to the main phase.
Yeah, definitely. You want to hit one of those before you have the ability to just have 7 lands online. Now David will be locked into just having 3 mana available, so no Karn, or most importantly, the Stonebrain this turn would have happened and would have been incredible. But, look at the play of this Eldrazi Tron deck. There is so much disruption, and you usually see none. There's Disrupting Flute. There was a Karn, as well as the Stonebrain of ways to stop this combo from kind of doing its thing, which just really shows, how powerful Tron is getting. Tron is learning. It's adapting to all these powerful combo strategies, which used to be just its worst matchups by far.
Well, the one thing about Tron is that it does weirdly have the ability to adapt for a deck that is so linear.
Yes.
Because it always seems to get at least 1 or 2 additional pieces of help in a set that does come out. So a card like Disruptor Flute is pretty good in a situation like this. It might get an additional artifact or 2 for Karn the Great Creator. Stonebrain is a card that's shown up recently. That has been a very nice addition for Tron-style strategies and could be very good in this situation. Now, if you are Jacob, your goal is to make it be a little bit less good. So, it'll be in Urza's Saga trigger. going to float a little bit of mana and now resolve chapter number 3 on the very powerful land that's going to go get a copy of Haywire Might.
Yep.
And that is a problem solver.
There's 2 problems, though. You know, there really is 2 problems. You know, the Flute on Nadu as well as the Stone Brain. I think you just kind of have to go for the Stone Brain to start and then deal with the Flute eventually. As if you just get rid of all the Nadus right away, Jacob's deck doesn't look that good, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's going to have to work pretty hard to win with cards like Endurance and Bristly Bill. So that's going to be the easier of the 2 choices. Haywire Might's going to exile the Stone Brain, and Jacob will get a little bit of life from that. But it is worth noting that while that Stone Brain has been exiled, Corey, Karn can go ahead and get that back.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go ahead and search that back. We just need to find it here. So far, David's follow-up here, not impressive, but, you know, Jacob did have the disruption to stop Tron from happening. But even if that did happen, Devourer of Destiny, the only huge follow-up so far, so David's definitely going to be knocking the top of the deck, looking for one of the 8 or so very powerful 4-drops.
Misty Rainforest headed to the graveyard in exchange for a little bit of Surveil action right now for Jacob Nagro, so it'll be a Hedge Maze. Now here's the trigger for the Surveil. And he's going to leave it on top, so let's head back Jacob's way. You see an Urza Saga is in hand. Now Urza Saga will be the play. Chapter 1 has been read, and that's why the die is there. And Nagro will just pass the turn back once again over to David, who would love to see a big play. But speaking of big plays, Force of Vigor says, hello.
That is huge. That's a 1-of in Jacob's sideboard, and it is so good right now. Not only getting rid of a hate card that had to be dealt with at some point, but preventing 4 mana. Jacob doesn't know about that, but preventing 4 mana for that turn. But David answering back with an impressive draw here to complete the Urzatron.
Yeah, an Expedition map is going to allow David to finish the Urzatron, as you did mention their partner. Urza's power plant has been found. There's no Beseiju to disrupt it this time around. And now David is going to simply pass the turn back over to Nagro, whose Urza Saga is up to Chapter 2.
So the ability to make a construct, you know, pretty decent here, nothing special, but we'll get a little bit of pressure going. You have that Sylvan Safekeeper to progress the battlefield a little bit. And with a Summoner's Pact, next turn, it looks like it will be Shuko and Nadu, you know, combining forces once again. And as it stands, David doesn't have a lot to do about it. Dismember being able to prevent it when it comes into play, but you still get the trigger with that, and Sylvan Safekeeper will be able to prevent that. So just looking good for Jacob.
It just depends on the sequencing here from Jacob on how things do go to work around that Dismember and see if it's on his radar. For now, David's just going to play an Eldrazi Temple and pass the turn back. So, Corey, you mentioned a construct being made, and that's what we're going to see here on the end step. Perhaps the sacrificing of Misty Rainforest as well. We'll have to see. But the token is on the battlefield.
The construct's just thinking, I'm really only used for 2 Nadu activations these days?
The best you can do. used to wear a Colossus Hammer, not anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Oh, the mighty have fallen.
Well, to say the absolute least. Dryad Arbor going to be the selection off of the fetch land here for Jacob. That's another good one to target with Shuko, of course, once Nadu is a rockin' and a rollin'.
Yeah, so incredible. This deck just really comes full circle. All the cards work together so well. This is maybe the best Dryad Arbor deck I have ever seen. Being able to not only produce mana here, but get a couple activations for the powerful bird.
We're going to see Urza Saga float some mana, get a Shuko here. So that land will disappear. But it has done its job, which is get that powerful 1-mana equipment onto the battlefield. That's part 1 of the combo.
Yeah, I think we're going to be handing that deck back real quick to search once again with it. And we easily could be done this turn. It's just how powerful and how low of resources Jacob started this turn with, really, last turn. Just three land, including an Urza Saga. And look what this battlefield could become here.
And the draw step was actually just Nadu, so no need for the Summoner's Pact. That might just find something else, like one of the Nantuko folk.
Just saving some time at that point, huh?
Right. Springheart Nantuko might be the choice for the very powerful tutor. Now, David is going to think about what's the best way to respond to this Sylvan Safekeeper, because you're really going to only get one shot with the Dismember.
Yeah.
And so there is the Safekeeper. No use of the Dismember yet. There's the island. The mana floating is a Nadu.
Yep, and now it's just, you look at that Dismember and you're like, this was supposed to get me to the next turn. And just not looking like it's going to be able to do too much.
while David works on that, I, Corey, am here to present you with a bird fact.
Okay.
Yeah, I figure if we're going to see a bird in the future match area with the regularity.
Honor it with the 8-0 with a good bird fact. I'm here for it.
I thought I'd just let you know that owls turn their heads almost 360 degrees, a complete circle, but they cannot move their eyes. Did you know that? Did you know
No,
that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, it's a good fact.
That's right. That's one of many. That's one of many. Here's another bird fact. When you equip a creature with a Shuko on Nadu's in play, the game ends.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
that's in the document I found online.
Really?
That's what I found online.
Wow,
yeah.
that document's ahead of its time.
That's right, that's right.
Interesting.
Interesting facts about birds is the name of the article.
I'm just surprised that article got updated with Nadu this fast when it just got printed.
That's
but
right.
Hey.
A Windswept Teeth is going to join from that Shuko activation on Nadu. And now it looks like Jacob's going to sacrifice his Windswept Teeth. You can see David. David, I think, kind of knows where this is going.
Yep, absolutely. And you see all the pieces here available. David's just thinking, David's probably not even really thinking, like, can I break anything up right now? It's probably, how did I lose this game so badly when he had so many pieces of interaction? You know, it was just incredible the amount of disruption that Jacob fought through. Now, had the Force of Vigor at a very timely manner, of course, that was very nice of a top deck for Jacob, but just looks hopeless on the other side when you're playing against this Bant Nadu deck sometimes.
Springheart and Tuco off of activation 1. Wall of Roots will be off of activation number 2. Now, this will be a Court of Calling. And this Court of Calling looks like it's going to be for 1 here from Nagro. And so Jacob's going to go a search in. This, we will see in just a moment. Protected up, of course, because of the Save Keeper. So Jacob has nothing to worry about. That'll be a copy of Delighted Halfling. So Halfling will enter the battlefield, and that's 2 more Shuko activations, of course. So Jacob is looking for, just a couple of lands, I think, off of the Shuko activations, which of course will trigger the Springheart and Tuco. It'll make a couple of people, and this song and dance will continue on, and David probably won't.
Yes, probably not. But, you know, there is a fail rate here. There are 4 non-lands on top. We just say go, and David has a chance to draw something.
Well,
2 more chances. I love a good sweat here.
Yeah, so the Halfling has been used. And I think maybe the only thing that has been used is the Sylvan Safekeeper, perhaps, given the organization of the creatures.
Yep.
I can keep them like that.
Just keeping them revealed there. And yeah, it does look like that is 8 bricks on a land so far. So, I mean, you know, the bad luck here, in air quotes, is definitely happening so far for Jacob. And deciding if he wants to even move over the Shuko, maybe trying to not risk something here.
And it is worth noting that David's hand does have a copy of All Is Dust.
Yeah.
Which is good enough to reset things.
Definitely.
I'm not going to say it's good enough to win the game, but it's good enough to at least have the game continue.
Yeah. Start over, and I mean, this Bird Nadu deck, this Bant Nadu deck is extremely powerful, but you do usually kind of need a setup turn, you know, especially when you're only stuck on 3 lands, so, you know, might not be able to actually combo off, and yeah, here it is.
Yeah, it looks
just heading it back.
Looks like Jacob's going to discard Court of Calling and simply pass the turn back, so a bevy of bricks in one sense insofar as Jacob didn't win the game that turn, but it is worth noting that cards in hand, well, there are many, including a backup copy of Nadu and Springheart and Tuco. So while the All Is Dust does sweep a bunch of things up, Jacob's ability to rebuild is pretty simple.
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, David's got to be feeling really good about this. The fact that he is still continuing to play, he's got to be feeling really good. And now this next Nadu that we see, the Dismember is actually online.
That's true. It's true. If there's still a Dismember in that hand, which actually I think that Dismember is now in the graveyard, so it may have been cast last turn.
Sure. I must have missed that. My apologies.
Here's one thing we won't miss. It's a Nadu. So let's get the conveyor belt out again. Trigger 1 is another backup copy of Nadu. How about Trigger 2? That's an Outriders.
Wow. Does he have any lands left?
Well, I got a feeling he might. Shuko says no, I don't. How about number 4? Okay, Breeding Pool, ETB untapped. Nagro's going to fall down to 14, so those triggers are all done. What's the play after this? It's a delighted halfling. There it is, on the belt, buddy. Trigger 1. Now it's so much fun. Wall of Roots. Trigger 2. Ooh,
needed that.
That's you. All right, so there's the land.
So really needed 2 lands to then just kind of start going off once again, play another Springheart Nantuko, but does have Quarter Calling available for 1 right now. To just get another Delighted Halfling. Or you just kind of say no. At this point, it's kind of wild how much you're outvaluing the Tron deck, where you're not really afraid of that many cards out of David. Karn probably being the most scary one.
Yeah, it looks like it will be a Quarter Calling for 1 now to keep this party going. So, last time we saw Delighted Halfling, I think that's what we might be seeing again. The Sylvan Safekeeper has been swept away, so Delighted Halfling will come to play, and we'll see 2 more activations of a Shuko here in just a moment.
And 2 lands would be ideal, trying to play the Nantuko once again.
1.
Shuko.
2.
And Horizon Canopy.
Yeah, at this point it does look like David's going to have another turn.
There's the equip onto the construct, which again, the twice claws have been used up on the 4 creatures on the battlefield. The construct is tapped from Court of Calling and the Convoking, so there's no attack to be had there. There might just be a follow-up Shuko play potentially here from Jacob, and Jacob might have to do a little bit of discarding, but this is 2 turns in a row, Corey. No hyper combo finish.
Deck's not that good, apparently, then. Didn't even end the game.
Okay, that's a good conclusion to draw from that. That's what I would do.
Yeah, and then David, Devourer of Destiny, just looking quite sad in the face of only being able to deal with Nadu when there is plenty of ways to find another one here.
13.
Looks like Jacob's just saying, is there anything that punishes me for playing another Shuko? It doesn't really seem like it, so why not equip it up?
Clean up.
There's the discard. And David, what's your best draw? I don't even know the answer to that question.
Karn, probably?
It probably is.
That looks like an Ugin's Labyrinth, and whew.
I promise it's not that.
Yeah, I don't think that was the top deck that David needed there.
Folks, we found our 8-0. We found our 8-0. It is Jacob Nagro, who is 8-0. The bird, they say, is the word here in Amsterdam. And for Jacob Nagro, it is a very impressive display with what is arguably the best deck in the tournament.
Yeah.
And he sure showed why it is the most played deck here this weekend.
I mean, it absolutely looked amazing in Jacob's hand there. You can tell that he's been playing this deck a lot. Just really knew what to do exactly on every turn and made it look great. Congrats to Jacob. Be exciting to see if he can keep it going tomorrow and convert it to a Sunday appearance.
Incredibly impressive display from Jacob. Congratulations. 8-0. It's one of the best feelings in the world to be on top of the standings after day 1 of the Pro
I
Tour.
wouldn't know, but...
Dude, neither would I. We're going to Maria and Frank. I think Frank might know a little something about that. Tell us about our next match, then we'll bring it to you just a bit.
More Magic on the way coming up. Ole Rada versus Nathan Blackman. Boros Energy versus Eldrazi Tron.
Boros Energy is a mid-range deck that makes the most of the energy mechanic brought back in Modern Horizons 3, combining cards like Guide of Souls, Amped Raptor, Galvanic Discharge, Unstable Amulet, and Static Prison to just spend the mana in the best way possible. For Eldrazi Tron, well, 1 + 1 + 1 = 7, and potentially a big Aldous Dust on turn 3 to sweep the board.
Will Rada have more energy than Blackman? We'll find out coming up after this.
It is beautiful here in Amsterdam, not just because the city's great, but because we get to watch Magic all weekend long. Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3 is what we are bringing to you. Cedric Phillips, Corey Baumeister, hanging out with 10,000 of our closest friends, because this baby is a sellout here at MagicCon Amsterdam. Corey, that's a big deal, man.
Gotta love it. I was walking around, and this place is packed with a bunch of happy Magic players.
It is. There's a ton of Magic to play. There's awesome panels and shows and just a lot going on in this convention center. So hopefully we'll get to see you in Vegas a little bit later on this year for one of these awesome Magic cons. One thing we can promise you is that we're going to be watching some more Magic right now here in round number 8. A Pro Tour Hall of Famer's on the docket. Maybe not the one that you're thinking of, but one of the best to ever do it here at Ollie Rod against Nathan Blackman. You see both of these players at 5-2. Boros Energy versus Eldrazi Tron is the matchup. The top finishes here for Ollie. There's 5 of them. They come many a moon ago, everybody. Pro Tour Columbus 1996 was Ollie's debut on the Pro Tour, and decided to debut in style, Corey, by winning the tournament.
Oh, man.
So
had the old Jake Beardsley plan, huh?
that's actually, Jake Beardsley had Ollie's plan.
Oh, of course.
Is
yes,
what
yes.
happened
My
there.
mistake.
First player to ever reach 5 top 8s in his career and finished in the top 32 10 times in 18 career Pro Tours as Ollie. He's a heck of a Magic player, to say the absolute least. You see here for Nathan Blackman, less top finishes, but you have to start somewhere, and starting 5-2 in a Pro Tour, well, that's a good start.
Exactly. Could be the start to 1 top finish here for Nathan. So, wow, really impressive career, though, for sure, for Ollie.
Yeah, most people don't know Ollie's career. If you've been around for a very long time, you may, but it was only until I actually started digging into older Pro Tours and stuff that I actually learned that he was an absolute crusher from the beginning. And the Pro Tour that he won in Columbus, won with, some would say the worst Pro Tour deck to ever win a Pro Tour, just insofar as, like, there's a lot of, like, bad cards in the deck, but his deck building was actually very, very, very intuitive at the time, and there's a reason why he won.
What was the deck?
It is a deck with a lot of spiders in it. It was like a block constructed tournament. I know way too much about this. There's some giant trapdoor spiders. There's some woolly spiders. There's some deadly insects. Most of you don't even know what those cards do, probably. You can look them up. They are horrible, but at the time, they were the right cards to play in that tournament, and there's a reason that he won it. That's all I'll say.
All right. I got to check out this deck list after this. That sounds impressive to me.
Nathan is coming with Eldrazi Tron, which we just saw in the last match. Now, that was against Nadu, and Nadu was able to overcome everything that Nathan was able to do. We'll see if Ollie can do the same here with Boros Energy, which is clearly not on the same power level as the Bant Nadu deck that we're seeing here this weekend, and certainly not as popular either. But it is a good option if you're looking to kill people quickly, Corey.
Definitely, and I would say this matchup is going to be a lot tougher here for Eldrazi Tron, as Boros can just be really, really fast, and if Nathan doesn't have one of these really impressive draws, Chalice on 1 on turn 2, get a Trinisphere down really quick, followed by the One Ring, something like that, Nathan can just get absolutely run over.
Well, it all starts with a 1-drop via Marsh Flask, and that's exactly what we're going to see here from Ollie. Going to fall down to 17 to play a Guide of Souls. This is kind of your newer version of a Soul Warden style card.
Yeah, there's not even much to compare to this incredibly powerful 1-drop. It is so, so powerful. And if you can follow it up with an Amped Raptor or something, where you generate an energy with the creature and then can cast, kind of cascade into anything in your deck, that combination is just really, really incredible.
Yeah, some of the starts that Boros Energy is capable of are very, very powerful, and it's got some staying power too. So this is a deck that we could see perform very well over the next handful of months in Modern as players continue to work on it, because it is so unique with so many new cards for Modern Horizons 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just really all comes down to, can you find the great answers to Bant Nadu in Boros? And if you can, this aggressive deck is definitely on the menu here for Modern for sure.
It'll be another fetch line here for Ollie. It's going to be a Windswept Heath. That'll do a little bit of searching here in just a moment. This Boros Energy deck does have cards like Unstable Amulet, Ajani Nakatl Pariah, Fable the Mirror Breaker, Galvanic Discharge, Lightning Bolts, and Apt Raptor. So it has plenty of power level in it. And again, it is a pretty quick deck as well.
And I think Ollie has pretty much access to all of these 2-drops. I saw most of them in hand, so it's going to be interesting to see what you go for. I would kind of think Amped Raptor is kind of where you want to start. but might not be the case as there's 2 Ajani's where Legend ruling one of those can really create a really fast clock with the flip side of it. But looks like Raptor is pulled to the front and ready to go.
Yeah, we'll see if that's what Ollie does want to get this second turn started off with.
Yeah, and there is some risk, you know. I mean, if you just hit Galvanic Discharge off it, you're like, wow, I wish I played a Johnny.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's some whiff potential, and now a Johnny is starting to make its way to the front. So Ollie, the Hall of Famer, with a little bit of a thought process here and trying to make the best decision. It is going to be the Amped Raptor. It does have the highest upside, so there will be a trigger here for the energy. And now we will see the, I guess we'll call it the cascading, as you so put it.
Improved Cascade,
Yes,
really.
yes. And there is the Flage, so can play that because of the energy, and that'll just be that Lightning Helix style effect. 2 cards in the graveyard because of the fetch lands, and that one's not that hard to bring back in this deck, as we have seen earlier in the day. So not a bad hit there for Ollie, and a battlefield presence as well.
Yep, not the absolute best. Fable or something like that would have been an improvement for sure, but definitely better than Lightning Bolt, as you do have that value to come back from. And if you can ever combine it with Arena of Glory, you can really finish off Eldrazi Tron in a quick way.
Protection trigger.
Ah yes, the One Ring has arrived. This is going to be a pain in Boros Energy's side, as a burden counter is placed on the very powerful artifact from the Lord of the Rings.
And I think I saw another one in hand as well. And, you know, most decks have a solid plan to get around the One Ring. You know, you're able to just cast Thassa's Oracle and win, or exile it, something like that. Boros Energy, not so much. You know, some decks do play 1 Bone Crusher Giant, something like that. None of that kind of stuff from Ollie. You just kind of have to wait your turn.
Yeah, just got to kind of slog through it. So
Yep.
this is the kind of turn where you want to build up maybe a little bit better of a battlefield presence.
Okay.
So another copy of Guide of Souls. There will be some energy, of course.
The one thing that's not so bad, if you can get a good amount of energy with Guide of Souls, you can still attack and place some counters on your creatures. You know, they're not going to be dealing damage, but you can just, you know, allow your creatures to get quite large so that when they can connect, you can really do some damage.
Sacred Foundry is going to enter the battlefield untapped now. Let's see what the follow-up is. It finally time for that Ajani.
There's a Johnny and Fila, so it looks like we're going to be seeing the flashed in Fila to be able to try to blink some stuff out, get some extra value.
A pupper of the exuberant kind we'll be seeing on the end step here. Good old Philia.
Good happy dog.
Indeed. Let's see if Nathan has a big turn ahead. It's not the completion of the Tron. At least not yet, as there's an Expedition map. That could be coming very soon. This will be 4 mana, another copy of the Ring. So as you mentioned, another copy of the Ring is just buying Nathan even more time. And again, Ollie's just going to have to simply wait his turn.
Yep, absolutely. And Tron's going to be online for next turn, so Nathan's going to have the ability to have 9 mana available. So that's going to be the gigantic turn for Nathan, and I believe, you know, we have the Emrakul underneath the Uggin's Labyrinth. I think I saw another Emrakul in hand, so that is kind of plan A against these Boros Energy decks when you're the Eldrazi deck as well. That battlefield is quite large. It'd be a shame if something happened to it, and you just take all of them.
Well, it's time for Ollie to grow the battlefield a little bit more while he is, quote-unquote, waiting his turn. So this will be an unstable amulet. Ollie used it right away, revealed a Ragavan, so that Ragavan's going to come to play. Again, there was once upon a time, it seems so long ago, that Ragavan was a format-defining card in Modern. It's weird to say that it may not be anymore, but that simply could be the case with the arrival of Modern Horizons 3. In the meantime, Nathan is going to sacrifice this Expedition map. It's time to get the Tower of Power, and Corey Tron is online.
Do you think if the Tron lands are all white-bordered, though, you get 1 less mana, or is it still just work the same?
You know, unfortunately, you still get the same.
All right, it's only fair.
The Dustbuster is here, and it's going to clear everything away. And this is an ideal setup here if you're Nathan. You bought some time with the One Ring. You make Ollie play more stuff in the face of the One Ring.
Yep.
You clean it all up. You got a lot of mana left over. And, of course, you have a copy of the One Ring that you can activate at your leisure. It's a really tough spot here for Boros Energy to be in.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this Eldrazi deck just looks incredible against aggro if you have every turn you're doing something, you know, was able to play the ring, not take any damage, one more ring to not take damage, and then have either the sweeper or an Emrakul to deal with it. And now we're pretty much done here as it looks like it's just about Emrakul time.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one to come back from if you're Ollie, who haven't even really dealt any significant amounts of damage. And it's not getting any easier because there is the aforementioned Emrakul. Now, once upon a time, Corey, one could say Emrakul, and we know which one it is. But there's so many of these darn things now that this one is actually the world anew.
Yep.
And it's a 12-12 with some additional text on it.
Just a few extra words. Yeah, I think the most important ones are, of course, stealing your opponent's creatures, but then Madness to pay 6 colorless really comes up in this list specifically as you have access to one, the Underworld Cookbook. You know, there's not your traditional usage of this card. Making food, that's kind of fine, but it is just to discard this card, make it cost 6, and you can get that down really quickly in this deck.
Another copy of Johnny is going to hit the battlefield here for Ollie. Ollie did Lightning Bolt, the cat token that the previous Johnny did make, so that one would transform, and now there are cat tokens aplenty. Now, I'm not sure how well or how many cat tokens are necessary to defeat this legendary Eldrazi, as there's a Chalice to the Void on one.
Yeah, the limit does not exist on that one, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay. It's going to be a tough road to hoe here for a Johnny against Emrakul. This is probably in some magic book somewhere, these two fought, and, well, I think I know who won.
Yeah.
I know. The Dustbuster is helping to clean up this game, and that's going to do that. So Nathan Blackman is going to win game number 1 here over Ali Rod, as Eldrazi Tron simply flexed its muscles too hard in that game.
Yep, absolutely. Looked really impressive there for Nathan. Nathan was on the play, though, so Ollie being on the play is going to be a big deal. No all-powerful one-drop here to start it off. I want to say all-powerful Regavan to start, but it's still probably all-powerful Guide of Souls in this list. But I do see a very powerful sideboard card against, you know, Storm decks as well as Tron, Damping Sphere to come down on turn 2 if needed.
A very popular card in sideboards this weekend for the reason that you did mention. Ruby Storm, which we haven't seen much on camera here this weekend.
Yep.
It's a really great way to fight against that deck. It's a great way to fight against these big mana Urzatron-based decks as well. So it's been popular here this weekend. Amp Raptor will be the play. Ophelia will come along with it.
Very strong and nice to be on the play here for Ollie, because if you're on the draw, your opponent goes Tron Land 1, probably going to go Tron Land 2 here with the map. You're kind of forced into Damping Sphere immediately, but Damping Sphere is a universal effect. So if you try to Amp Raptor, that one's not going to work too well unless you got some extra mana laying around, as it does still kind of act like Cascade as you got to cast it.
Chalice of the Void on 1 is going to cut off quite a few cards here from Ollie's deck, but it is worth noting that if Chalice is the play, if you're Ollie, you might be able to sniff out the fact that your opponent actually has Tron completed already, which is true. So the sphere comes down, and now here's the attack, and Ophelia is actually going to remove that Chalice of the Void briefly. It'll come back and have no counters on it anymore. So the Chalice was a temporary solution, and now it doesn't do much of anything, Corey.
Yeah, no Mishra's Baubles, I guess, if any players playing those, which they are not. But one thing to note for sure is Ollie did not have a third land ready to go here. So, you know, a little bit of a problem, but still looking pretty good here for the Hall of Famer.
Urza's Saga is the third land here for Nathan Blackman, and now it'll be a copy of Trinisphere. So you can see exactly what Eldrazi Tron is up to here this weekend. It's playing more like a prison-style deck, and just trying to stop people from doing anything notable, and then eventually go over the top of them with something like Emrakul, as we saw in the last game.
Yep, absolutely. And normally, with Ollie not picking up another land here, you would think, okay, well, no more spells, but Fila can kind of do the trick once again and blink it out and then start casting some stuff.
Yeah, Ophelia is a fun addition to this style strategy of decks, so we'll see exactly what Ollie can kind of put together here right now. The clock isn't the quickest. It will do some attacking. It's going to blink out the Trinisphere here for just a moment, so that's going to go to the side. And we'll see if Ollie can continue to go a little bit wide with this creature assault.
Yeah, and I believe I saw Amped Raptor as well for Ollie, but that one is not great as he doesn't have that third land that I was mentioning before. So cascade into something, you're not casting it, so has to use up the only piece of energy here off that Aether Hub to cast a Johnny, and kind of out of casting spells here unless Ollie picks up a land, as not many options left available.
Yeah, on the struggle bus, I would say just a little bit here is Ollie with the difficulty of the lands, but is at least continuing to present a pretty decent clock. And, you know, who's to say, given that the dampening sphere is in play, that Nathan can really function in a meaningful way?
Yep, that's very true, but even just the threat of Urza's Saga here just making a construct, that is still quite difficult here, as there's a lot of artifacts laying around. It can just jump in front of one of these creatures, and the good dog can only target it, and then it can make a construct in response. It kind of doesn't have the ability to do anything too special there.
Well, we're going to head back over to Ollie Rod now and see what the Magic Hall of Famer can find. Game 1 was rather unkind. This game going a little bit better, to say the least.
Definitely. And the one thing is, if Fila does not die in combat, which it kind of looks like it would if it decided to get in there, you can attack with it and then start phasing out these constructs, which will just absolutely kill them if the game comes down to that. But I did also see a Dismember in hand for Nathan, so able to make a construct as well as dismember a threat. So pretty solid turn for Nathan if he so chooses.
Oh, here is a Kozilek's command, and this one is quite the powerful one. We'll see what the modes are going to be on this. And it's going to be take care of Philia, and it looks like a couple of Eldrazi knuckleheads will join the battlefield too. Here comes the attack with the Raptor, the Ajani, and Ajani's good buddy.
Yeah, and well, that was, you know, nice to get that dog out of there. There's still a pretty big problem here for Ollie. No land, not the ability to not cast a single thing, and just being able to make a big construct here looks threatening to me. And Nathan's getting to the point where, sure, Damping Sphere has prevented him from just going way over the top. These lands still tap for one, and you got a lot of them, so can still cast something quite big this turn with the help of the Scions, or the Cookbook is definitely signifying we might have all the creatures going over to Nathan here, and maybe the match slip going over as well.
Yeah, that could be bad news. I've not seen Emrakul be madnessed out just yet.
And we won't yet, but it's there just in case, it looks like.
That's a fun thing to potentially have on the horizon right now. You see there's a Karn, the Great Creator, in hand for Nathan, and that's exactly where Nathan is going to go.
So one really cool trick that Nathan can do at some point here with that Karn is, can Karn tick up on Damping Sphere and then just dismember it? Nice little combo if you want to unlock your mana. Not really a big point in doing that so far.
I had the one floating from the Saga. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a mana floating from the Saga, and then the other 3 lands are helping to assist in the Karn, because remember, Dampening Sphere is shutting down the Tron, so all things are good to go here, at least on Nathan's side of things. I can't say the same for Ollie, of course.
Yeah, really unlucky for Ollie. Just one land at least gives him the ability to cast one spell a turn, and I mean, that'd be huge. That's all really Nathan's been doing, is casting one spell, but now picking up Bridge from Nathan, you know, all the doors are starting to close a little bit here. The prison side of this Eldrazi deck is really starting to take shape.
Well, Ollie's going to come into the red zone. And Nathan has a little bit of thinking to do on how to manage this. And of course, Ollie has to decide where to go. You know, face or Karn. What's the place going to be? So this is getting to be very, very tough, as you mentioned, Corey, for the Hall of Famer.
Yep. You thinking he's wishing he could trade out these creatures for some spiders at this point?
You know, a deadly insect or two, perhaps.
Yeah, catch Nathan in his web a little bit, but yeah, this one's not doing so great.
Yeah, see, y'all don't know. I'm old. Ollie's older, but I'm a fan of the game, and I'll tell you what, Ollie, deadly insects. What we got? We got Orcish Cannoneers. You know that humdinger?
No.
Yeah. Good.
Absolutely not.
Good. You shouldn't.
I mean,
shouldn't.
don't get me wrong. I watched a Pro Tour on dial-up internet, so I'm right there with you, but this was still a little bit before my time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. Little lava burst.
Oh, baby.
Yeah. Best card in Ollie's deck was Stormbind, actually, and it was really, really good.
And what was that?
My goodness.
I'm sorry I'm letting you down here,
You
but
really are.
I don't want to just be like, yeah, that was a good one, Cedric.
I know the person operating the card machine back there.
You know she doesn't know that card either.
So, we're at war with one another. Maybe I could say it louder. Stormbind.
Okay, okay.
That's 1 red and a green. It's an enchantment. You can pay 2 and discard a card at random and deal 2 damage.
Pay 4 life.
Don't laugh. Don't laugh. That thing was a banger back in the day. If there was a Stormbind on the battlefield right now, Ollie would be doing pretty good.
At random, you just had to give away one of your cards. Could have been your best card for shock.
Deal 2.
Okay.
Deal 2.
Okay. I guess that'd close out this game right now.
It sure would. It would be pretty good. You're a hater. It'd be pretty good right now.
Fair enough. I take it all back.
Let's see what Nathan's able to find here to maybe cement this game away. Another land. It's the third Ursa's Mine, and there's the bridge. So there will be no more attacking. The attacking is done, and maybe Karn's about to have some fun.
Yeah, gotta love an active bridge, huh? Just one of the most fun cards to have on the other side of the battlefield for you when you're playing an aggressive deck.
If you don't come prepared with an answer, it's lights out.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we know for sure. And that's part of the appeal of playing Karn the Great Creator, is all the flexibility that this very powerful Planeswalker does give you.
And now I would say it's not necessarily lights out as lightning bolts now, but the food that this cookbook is generating is going to get out of hand here really quickly. And, there's no ability that Ollie can go, play another land, have 2 lightning bolts ready to go in response to this food token with the Trinisphere just choking all the mana. So, I think Nathan can just win this game by drawing a card, not looking at it, discarding it to the cookbook, gaining 3 life every turn.
Yeah.
I really don't think there's many ways out. There's 2 wear tears in the board for Ollie if they came in this matchup, which I imagine they probably did.
Yep. A card that is, somewhat popular here this weekend is Trinisphere. We're finding these colorless decks that are trying to play prison style, like what Nathan Blackman's doing. The reason they did it is because they felt that Trinisphere was very good. And when you think that when you take into account that everything does cost 3 in a combo-centric metagame, okay, so a deck like Ruby Storm is going to struggle with Trinisphere mightily.
Definitely.
A deck like Nadu actually is going to struggle with Trinisphere because when it is going off, it does have to cast additional spells.
Yep.
And it is a little bit short on mana at times when it is doing things. So, Trinisphere, if you can kind of get it on the battlefield and build up a little bit of a wall behind it, like we're seeing in this game, it's incredibly impactful against the major decks of the format.
Yeah, absolutely. And even matchups where it doesn't look as game-breaking like that, it's still the fact that your opponent is going to be withheld to 1 spell a turn, and you're going to be casting much bigger spells, and you'll just be able to really, really destroy your opponent pretty quickly. And speaking of destroying, this liquid metal coating is going to lock it up.
Nathan Blackman is going to win this match here over the Hall of Fame Ollie Rod. 2-0 Eldrazi Tron, much too difficult for the Hall of Famer to overcome. Everything came together beautifully here for Nathan. And I will say, and you and I have played in our handful of Pro Tours, that last match that you do play when you're 5-2, you're locked up for day 2, so you're already pretty happy about that. But, if you're really kind of deep into this thing, Corey, that there's a big difference between 6-2 and 5-3.
There's a big difference if you're going to be happy at dinner that night or if you're going to be sad. Even if you're going in at 7-0, losing that last round, you're still just like, ending on a sour note.
Yep.
But hey, being at the Pro Tour and still making day 2 with a positive record, you still got to be pretty happy.
It's a very good space to be in. And now we're going to turn our attention to 2 players who have been making day 2s of Pro Tours for feels like forever here. And Simon Nielsen and Jean-Emmanuel Depras, our reigning player of the year against our reigning world champion. Not bad, guys. In the truck, Bant Nadu Mir. Here we go. Both these players are qualified for the World Championships. Of course, they do know each other quite well because, heck, they're always at the top tables, probably sitting next to one another if they're not playing. And unsurprisingly, Corey, they're both off to another wonderful start in day 1 of a Pro Tour.
Yeah, you just got to be friends with the people that you're hanging around with all the time. And, 4 times a year for 3 straight days, they're always right next to each other.
Sure does seem like it, that's for sure. We're going to have Jean-Emmanuel on 7 cards, while Simon is on 6. It's a Bant Nadu mirror.
It's got to be Amulet. Oh, okay. Nope.
Yeah, again, you think. I think there might be 1 Amulet player in this tournament. I think
2. There were 2. Yep.
Two?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it might be kind of good coming in. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, who would have guessed? I mean, before this set got printed, if you would have told me Urza Saga on 1 would be played, I was like, yep, seems totally reasonable. Dom Harvey's probably crushing with Amulet.
That's what I thought would be happening. That's what I thought. Looks like I may have been wrong. A Hex Parasite going to be wearing a Shuko now via the Urza Saga. And the land there for Jean-Emmanuel is a Windswept Heath. We're going to head back over to our reigning player of the year, Simon Nielsen.
Take one.
His Twitter handle is Mr. Checklist Card. I told him he should change it to Mr. Top 8 because of the string of finishes that Simon has had over the past calendar year or so has been incredibly impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who's been living under a rock here for the last year, Simon Nielsen did the undoable in top 8ing 4 Pro Tours in a row, or 4 premium events in a row, and never seen that before.
No.
Quite impressive.
I don't know if we'll ever see it again. He's been unbelievable in Magic recently. You're going to see JED going to sacrifice that Windswept Heath and do a little surveilling here in just a moment.
Yeah, and a nice save here for Simon, being able to play that one of fun of Haywire Might here to make sure that the game just doesn't end. I mean, Urza Saga on turn 1 really signifies to me that JED has Nadu there, and I did get a glimpse of it. So we're going to see that, but, Haywire Might being able to clean up a Shuko, can't clean up 2 of them, so you wonder if you're a little priced in to upkeep deal with the Urza Saga if you're already going to try to deal with a Shuko. It's really the only way that I see to prevent Nadu from coming into the battlefield this next turn for JED.
Well, let's see what will take place here perhaps in just a moment. All right, so it's going to be upkeep, take care of that Urza Saga.
Game 2.
And Nielsen is going to gain a little bit of life and go up to 21. As we head back JED's way now.
Yeah, and Hex Parasite, a really interesting addition here. Just having another way to kind of have a 5th Shuko, if you will, and a card that you can at least chord for to be able to target your own permanents. Now, you have to pay some life for that, so not able to do it over and over again. But still a nice little cute addition that we haven't seen from every single list.
Oh, there's a second land once again in a copy of Windswept Heath as we head back over Simon's way. And we don't have a great look at Simon's hand just yet, but we know that it doesn't take much for this Bant Nadu deck, to put its 1-2 punch together.
Yep, and without the Urza Saga, Simon does have to have a very, concentrated amount of cards here to be able to start doing the Nadu thing. Has to absolutely have Nadu and Shuko and none of the other ways to tutor for them, minus Summoner's Pact for the Nadu as you can do that. So we'll see if he has that follow-up, but JED definitely has Nadu. Not sure if that other card in hand is a land to be able to start going off, but you do have the Delighted Halfling regardless if it lives.
Well, now we get a little better look at things. There is Shuko and a couple of lands over there.
At least one was a Boseiju, but yeah, looks like Otawara, Boseiju, Shuko, and 2 fetch lands. So really unimpressive here. And I think Simon is just really trying to decide, do I want to play Shuko and put it out and make it vulnerable here? But Boseiju on Shuko almost assuredly has to happen in response to this Nadu.
Yep. Tough turn to navigate here if you're Simon because you're pretty weak, but you'd like to try to appear to be strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best way to do that is tank. Tank for a little bit. There you go. Got to do a little bit of acting here at the biggest stage because, well, these players are so good. They pick up on little things. Players bleed information all the time. If they're acting too hasty, these players kind of act the same whether they have the best hand possible or if their hand is really, really bad, like we just saw from Simon.
Yep.
It's a hidden skill that you don't really see until you watch the best players play over and over.
And that is certainly what we're watching here right now. Reigning world champion against reigning player of the year here in professional Magic. Simon Nielsen, Jean-Emmanuel Depras. JED is going to sacrifice this Windswept Heath. We'll see what land he wants to dig out of the old deck here.
Probably a Surveil land here. Nope. Okay,
So
goes
maybe
for
Dryad
the
Arbor.
land, or goes for the Arbor.
You know, given the fetching that we've seen here this weekend and what it's looked like over the past year, I actually kind of want to kind of see if anybody registered a trial. Which is like a crazy thing to think.
No
But-
kidding.
Anybody got trial in their deck anymore? Is that a thing?
Just not needed anymore. It is really impressive how fast Surveil lands kind of just really negated this deck.
Because I figured that was my highest EV
Oh,
play.
here we go.
My life is great.
So,
I
Otawara.
don't even know.
Yeah, Simon's trying to figure out exactly what the bounce is going to just roll and say, all right, I guess it's this one. Dryad Arbor, get out of here.
Okay, lucky. That's why they call me Lucky Simon.
He's saying his highest EV play here is to bounce one of the mana generators and hope you don't have land plus Nadu. Bad news for Simon.
Yep.
Bad news.
Yeah, you ain't kidding, partner. There is Nadu.
Ooh.
And that is not good for you,
No.
Simon Nielsen.
You know, I wonder if that really was the higher impact thing. Besieging on the Shuko, it definitely looks better in this situation. You know, of course, there's other things to consider. But, I mean, I guess you can just Hex Parasite over and over, but that is a finite amount.
Yep.
You know, you do only have as many activations as you have life in increments of 2. But I guess that's worth it. You know, you still get 9, 10 activations.
That's probably going to be
Probably
good enough.
good, yeah.
So here's our second Shuko activation for JED. Now onto the Hex Parasite. Boseju's going to enter the battlefield untapped. You saw Quarter Calling added to the grip and a Temple Garden into play. Nadu added to the grip now, so now it'll be a copy of Delighted Halfling. Number 1 is the Yavimaya. How about number 2 here, JED? Is it time for that just yet? Or is it Quarter Calling? It looks like it may be, wait for it.
Yeah, that is one thing we haven't really seen so far in the combo is just replay Nadu. You know, I'm sure it definitely happens, but most of the time there's so many other good options to just close the game out immediately. And Spring Heart Nantuko is probably the find there. And 2 more activations, the ability to find a land,
I feel like I'm gonna make
probably good enough, but always worth going for it here.
Yeah, it looks like 5 activations left to go. 1 on the Halfling will be the first of the 5. The other 4 left are 2 on Wall of Roots and 2 on the Nantuko, at least for right now. Well, there's the forest. That'll generate an
we can do that
insect.
as well. But I
So
don't know,
it's
maybe
at
there's
least
like
6
2 people out there
activations of
who are
Nadu
watching
plus
this.
Shuko.
That's
and that'll probably
Maybe
be
I'm
more
one of
than
those
enough
2
to
people.
to wrap this one up here for JED. But we will watch it together as now
Yeah.
there's a Windswept Teeth. Let's trigger the Nantuko, so another insect. And now second trigger. There's a Shuko added to the hand. Next up on the conveyor belt is the Wall of Roots.
You're doing it so
There's a
smooth.
land. Trigger this.
Yeah,
Now it's 3 insects all day.
Oh, nice.
I like that Simon's just really appreciating the smoothness of how you're comboing off, you know?
Yes.
You gotta appreciate something at this stage of the game.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
there's
Simon
right,
takes
yeah.
all the wins
Yeah,
and
yeah.
losses the same in stride.
Yes.
And when you are also playing the same deck as your opponent, you know exactly what it's like to be on this side of things, as there's a Summoner's Pack. That's the reveal off of that first
That's
Nadu
really cool.
activation on that insect token.
Yeah, if I was playing against JED or Simon Nielsen and I was playing the same deck watching them combo, I'm like, yes, please, I want to see it because I want to make sure I'm doing it right. You know, I want to make sure the way that you're comboing is the way I should be doing it.
Yeah, maybe you can learn a little bit something here.
Exactly.
So, as this one is going to be unfolding a little bit quicker now because this is our last game and match here in day number 1. We're going to speed it up a little bit here for you fine folks at home, as you're going to see JED very quickly go through the motions here. There's another activation of the Shuko. Misty Rainforest is going to generate a couple of tokens, given the multiple copies of the Nantuko on the battlefield. So up to 5 insect tokens now. Nadu and, of course, Shuko on the battlefield with a couple copies of Shuko in hand, Corey. It looks like JED is just trying to figure out the best way to finish it off. And as you mentioned, this does give the opportunity for Simon to maybe learn a little something.
Yep.
Not that our player of the year doesn't know all the things, but it is a good opportunity maybe to grow and learn something that you didn't quite know, maybe with some sort of infinite loop or what have you in a spot like this.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just trying to watch, get some camera time. Simon doesn't get enough camera time here on the Pro Tour.
Oh,
So
yes,
really wants to enjoy his first couple times on the feature match area.
And one thing you did say is we haven't seen most players here this weekend actually play a new copy of Nadu.
Yeah.
Legend ruling the old copy of Nadu, because those of you who at home who may be unfamiliar, Corey, you want to explain exactly how that works with the resetting?
Yeah, exactly. When you play the second Nadu, it completely takes away the clause of, well, you can only do it twice because it just resets it. So now each creature can go all over again. Now you just basically have infinite uses here. We have, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 activations here. No big deal. We'll be able to draw the deck and then just start comboing off here, blowing up all the lands, have Thassa's Oracle, Endurance, Otawara, everything away. However you choose to win the game, we're pretty much all done here.
Yeah, this is the kind of nice thing about this deck. Some players have identified here over the course of the weekend that you actually don't have to play a Thassa's Oracle to win the game.
Yep.
You can go Thassa's Oracle lists. Players have referred to that as removing the training wheels from your deck. That's the polite way they refer to it, because you don't actually need Thassa's Oracle to win. It's an easier way to do it, but you can also do it without it by having a Sylvan Safekeeper on the battlefield, which allows you to sacrifice lands, of course. You can have it. You'll have access to your copy of Endurance. Endurance can actually put a couple copies of lands back into your deck, and because your Nadu activations can continue because you have so much stuff on the battlefield, you actually end up drawing those lands. It means you can actually set which lands you want to draw. Corey, you mentioned Otawara can be one, Boseiju can be another, and it can kind of just get out of control from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I really want to know the testing team that came up with it, because I'm sure it was like, okay, I'm going to attack this deck by getting rid of your Thassa's Oracle, exiling it in some way, stone braining or whatever, and then, just going in the tank while they're comboing and be like, well, I think I can do something here, and then you just see your testing teammate across the table be like, you know what? I'll play Bant Nadu as well. You got me.
Well, this is actually, truth be told, it's actually one of my favorite things about Magic.
Yeah.
Is the way that people are able to approach the game differently, even though we're all playing the same game, which is, the initial builds of this deck have Thassa's Oracle as the win condition, right? And it's like, okay, great. That makes a lot of sense. I'm going through my entire deck, and then, of course, I do have no cards left in my deck, and I play Thassa's Oracle, trigger, win the game, right? That's a pretty straightforward way of doing things.
Yeah.
But someone, somewhere, or someone's somewhere, found out that I actually don't need to do that. I can do kind of this sort of loop style thing, which is exactly what JED is explaining to Simon right now, which is, again, you put some lands into your graveyard, you're able to endurance those cards back. You keep going through your deck with the Nadu triggers, so eventually you have a very small number or no cards left in your deck. You sacrifice a couple of lands to Sylvan Safekeeper. You endurance them back because you can copy endurance because of the bestow on the Nantuko.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're just endurancing the same cards back in your deck and creating an infinite loop, which, again, JED is explaining to Simon right now, because maybe Simon doesn't know it as well as JE does. That's entirely possible, because it is a little bit confusing and a little bit unique. But again, the thing that I absolutely adore about Magic is someone found this.
Yes.
I'm only good at attacking with white creatures. I could never find this.
Absolutely not. And you do find this a lot in deck building, and maybe that's how some of the, more iconic combo decks have been created, like KCI. You think about that. That's an incredibly complex thing that, Matt Nass is probably sitting at home and like, all right, connecting the dots, I'm going to build a really cool deck like this. And then to see it in action and see it be as powerful as it is, different decks across Magic's history is just awesome. Like you said, it makes it very obvious and very clear why Magic is the greatest game in the world, and it's not close.
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable the decks that people can build. I've always said, I don't know who the maniac is that found the Lantern of Insight deck.
Yep.
But you know what, pal? Good for you that you were able to find all of those cards, and good for whoever the heck came up with this Bant Nadu deck without Thassa's Oracle, because it's a real good one. I think there's a pretty good chance it might be hoisting the trophy at the end of the weekend. Don't know if it's going to be Jean-Emmanuel or Simon Nielsen, but it looks like somebody is going to be very happy with their birds.
Yep, absolutely. And impressive deck once again here from Bant Nadu. And, I would much rather be the aggressive person testing against the people building this deck on a testing team. So that looks like makes my head hurt just thinking of how to approach that combo.
We weren't sure exactly how well Bant Nadu would perform here this weekend.
We are now.
We're pretty sure now. Looks like the deck to beat, and with good reason. News desk, folks. Frank, I know you're working on that math, buddy. I can't wait to see the conversion rate of this thing because it has been destroying people all weekend long.
I'll have it for you tomorrow, Cedric.
Beautiful. That's my guy. See, Frank,
love that guy.
I can't do the math. That's why he's here.
There's
we need
steam
him.
coming out of
We
his
need
ears.
him big time.
Thank you so much, Cedric and Corey, here as we close out the action on day number 1. Also very excited for those numbers tomorrow. Frank, the beads of sweat are beginning. Let's take a look at our leaderboard here after 8 rounds of competition as we close out day number 1. One player left undefeated. That is none other than Jacob Nagro with the bird itself. But check this out. I want you to keep looking at the top of the leaderboard. The names we have there after day 1 are absolutely unbelievable. Eli Cassis currently sitting at 7-1. That's your Neon Dynasty champion back in 2022. Jean-Emmanuel Duprat, that's your reigning world champion, sitting at 7-1. Brian Boss playing that awesome Gruul Prowess deck, sitting at 7-1. Javier Dominguez, your world champion back in 2018, sitting at 7-1. Jason Yee, one of the best drafters playing the game right now, sitting at 7-1. So incredible to see so many incredible players at the top of our standings here as we wind down day number 1 of action. Well, we've been talking about Bant and Nadu all weekend long, and it's time to name our card of the day.